Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Bugatti Divo in multiplayer in Forza Horizon 4. I am using an S2 tune of 998 that was created by Don Juan Song, a pretty famous Forza YouTuber. First of all, I'm going to give you an acceleration and top speed test of the car, and then we'll get into some multiplayer races. So, as I'm sure you may have seen, it's been quite a while since my last Forza multiplayer video. It's been about 7 months since the Huracan one, and I did make the one about the Eliminator since then, but there are a couple reasons for that. First of all, I kind of started losing interest in the game in general. There wasn't really a whole lot of new content to keep me interested in it, and also, most of the cars that are in both Forza and Asphalt 8 and or 9 I had already tested, at least the good ones that people really would want to see, I think. And I still probably won't make Forza videos very often, but I do plan to make ones about cool cars every so often, like this Divo. So, this car reaches 236 miles per hour with that tune along the straightaway, and now let's get into some multiplayer races, the first one being on the Meadows Sprint. In all of these races, I will be facing off against members of the Purple Team community, like RPM Marwin in his Ferrari F40, Fundroid in his Divo, Metroid Man in his Koenigsegg 1-1, Shadow in his Ford Supervan 3, and Iron MK in his Vulcan AMR. This is a pretty big variety of cars, so we'll have to see how the Bugatti stacks up against a lot of other S2 class cars. So in this video, there are going to be some races on circuits, some races on just normal straight tracks, such as this one, and that was a pretty nice overtake back there. If you would like to get in these races with me as well, join the Purple Team server, the link is in the description, go to the Special Roles channel, and click on the Forza Horizon 4 emote reaction. That will give you a role for Forza Horizon 4, which I will tag anytime I do private lobbies like this. Now keep in mind, they probably won't be too often, but if you do play the game, why not? You might have a chance to get in a video of mine, and this is probably one of the easiest ways to do that, because I always have fun playing with you all. So we are about halfway through this track right now, and Shadow Reaper in his Ford Supervan is right on my tail, and I have to be sure to go through here with pretty fast speed so as not to let him catch up, but then not slow down so much around those turns that he comes and passes me. That Supervan is actually really good. It's so strange. So many cars in this game that you don't think would be good are actually some of the best ones. Like the Hot Wheels Bone Shaker, for example, and that tractor thing were banned from online multiplayer because of just how OP they are. And what I don't understand about that is why couldn't they just have adjusted either the car's stats or adjusted the rank such that it simply wouldn't be OP so much at those stages instead of outright banning them. It's a little odd to me. So we do another overtake in the last few seconds of the race to come in, what? Second place? You guys remember, this happened in a previous video of mine. I don't remember which one it was, but I came in first in that race, but it still said second. Probably has something to do with internet connections or something weird like that. So we're now moving on to our second race, which is Greendale Sprint. Now, this is one of the tracks in Forza Horizon 4, which I feel has the most kind of variety, where cars with all sorts of different focuses, such as either top speed or handling, could do quite well on. Because at the beginning, you have this section in Edinburgh where it is very tight and twisty, and cars with good handling and lower top speed could do very well there. But then later on, you have a long highway section where cars with much higher top speed will be able to get up to that speed and perhaps pull away. So I find it to be pretty balanced for most cars, and it's one of the tracks I enjoy driving most on in these private adventures with you guys. I do choose a big variety of tracks for these races, all road races really, because those are the cars that I'm testing, cars that do well on asphalt, but this one always seems to be especially good. I think it's appeared in quite a lot of my videos. We are now racing quickly toward the highway, hot on the heels of the other Divo driven by Fundroid. And yes, you have to slow down a bit around that corner. I think I slowed down a little less than he did, which is why I was able to catch up to him at this point. And I do believe that out of almost everything that you have to be skilled at in order to drive well in this game, knowing when to brake and how much to brake is definitely one of the most important things. Here, yeah, I accidentally hit the wall, and thus the F40 is able to pass me as well. One thing I have noticed about the Divo is that while it drives okay overall, it's not the greatest car I've driven, it's not the worst either, it's fairly stable on the road, but it can feel a bit heavy, and it often does not turn around corners as much or as quickly as I would like, and I feel like I have to slow down more in some cases, or is just going to go barreling off into the side somewhere, which has happened a couple times, so I've learned to be pretty careful with it. It does not like to turn, but generally speaking it holds the road pretty well. It was a fairly enjoyable car to drive, and although it's not one of the fastest S2 cars, it's by no means one of the slowest either, so I think it goes somewhere in the upper middle of the class probably. But if you bought this car in the Forzathon shop a week or two ago like I did, I'd say it's definitely worth giving it a tune and trying it out just to see how you do in it. So now we have got a circuit, Astamore Heritage Circuit, and while I usually prefer the longer tracks over the circuit ones where you just go around and around, this one was actually pretty close throughout most of the way, and so I thought it would be a pretty good one. I always like to sprinkle a couple of circuit races in these videos, even though I do like the other ones better, because it does give cars that have better handling and lower top speed a chance to shine. Now that's definitely not this car. This is definitely one, I would say, of the more top speed and less handling oriented ones, because while it's not a brick necessarily, it's not the greatest handling thing either. But as we can see in this race, if you can drive it right and you are sure to brake enough around the turns when it tells you to, then you can still do pretty well on these tracks. However, you will notice that the people behind me usually catch up to me around the turns because they don't have to brake as much. Probably a lot of cars can go around the turns quicker through them than this one can. We're able to get through the first lap without much of a problem and actually put a bit of distance between us and the second place person, but then we get to a turn, have to slow down a lot, which allows them to catch back up, and you will kind of see this a lot throughout this race, is through the straightaways, my car pulls away, but then on the turns, especially the ones where I have to brake a lot, they catch up again, and so it gets pretty close toward the end, which is why I'm not skipping this one, as I might do in a lot of circuit races as I have in the past, because oftentimes I either get far behind or far ahead or whatever on the first lap, and then nothing happens on the second or third lap, so I would just cut it. Some people in the past have wondered what exactly I do to make my purple color in this game, because I made a video about how I did it in Asphalt 9, but in this game it's a little bit different. What I do is I choose a dual tone metallic, which you can do in Asphalt 9 as well, even though in Asphalt 9 I usually just choose single tone, and then I choose 0.7 for the base color and 0.79 for the secondary color. That gives us a rather blue base color with purple highlightings, which you can see pretty well when the sun is shining on the car, and I think it looks pretty cool because I do prefer a more bluish purple than a reddish purple. So we are now into the third lap with the other Divo right on our tail. Let me know, guys, down in the comments if there are any specific Forza Horizon 4 cars you would like me to test. Most likely the ones that I will be doing most of all are ones that are also in Asphalt 8 or 9, because I found that those are my Forza videos that garner the most interest, because most of my viewership is from either Asphalt 8 or 9, so people mostly recognize the cars that are in those games, which does make sense to me. But in the case of this car, the Bugatti Divo, I figured it had enough name recognition outside of the games that people would still want to see a video about it. And with Fundroid and his Divo right on our tail, we crossed the finish line in first position, and it actually does give us a first place this time, thankfully. After this, I let everyone switch their cars up if they would like to, and so in this final race, we've got Metroid Man in his Apollo Intensa Emozione, which I have made a video about if you would like to check that out. Fundroid is in his Koenigsegg CCGT, and Iron MK is again in the Vulcan AMR. So now it is time for my general review about this car. It is definitely one of the best looking Bugattis in my opinion if we're going off of looks, but in terms of its performance, I'd say it is decent for S2 class. 236 miles per hour is nothing to sneeze at. It's not the best, but it is definitely in the upper portion. It is generally a very stable car, however its handling is very heavy, and so you might find yourself going off the road in some cases like I just did there if you don't slow down enough around some curves and corners. Now if you get on straightaways, you can get going pretty fast, but you have to be really careful to slow down enough. That was one thing that I found I struggled most when driving it. But it never did anything like skidding or going in some kind of crazy direction that I didn't want it to. You just have to be very deliberate with it. It's not as fast as the Chiron in this game, which could get up to around 255 or so in my test about that car, so 20 or so miles per hour faster. So I'm thinking that the Chiron is probably better in S2 class than this one. But if you have it, again, I would definitely recommend taking it out for a spin. So here, Metroid Man passes us at the very last second, and we come in second place. GG, close race. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt, Forza, and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.